we're all changing who we think we are and what we're becoming. And I really see us becoming in relationship to our spiritual purpose together and how we can support that. And it's such a tricky transition to get rid of all the stuff that doesn't support that.
Hmm. Yeah, which really ties into like this place of my purpose. And in our class last night, um, this was brought up when the question of what does self connection mean to you, and that's a
Mm.
question to those watching, those that will watch the replay. What does self connection mean to you? And it has so much layers to it. It ties to self cleaning for me. It ties to my purpose. It ties into a livelihood where I'm just giving the world my gifts, my
Hmm.
skill. Why am I here? Is to serve, right? The life serving energy that Marshall Rosenberg talks about when I get connected to my needs, that there's an inherent goodness in each human being that wants to contribute to life. Kids, you see it in kids all the time. They want to do things, they want to provide, they want to create. And so when I connect with that question of what self connection mean to me, it's like coming back home to myself and just acknowledging the chaos, acknowledging the workplaces that don't feel savory to go to. How can I carve out that space for me to be with myself? I got on a call with a friend today and I felt him, his energy running from one meeting to another meeting.
Mm.
And it felt this anxiousness, this overwhelm. I'm like, hey, can I take a guess here that you're feeling overwhelmed? Please correct me. You're feeling anxious? Yeah. Okay. Let's just slow down and let's take a breath together. And we just took some breaths together and just slowed it down. And he's like, wow, thank you for that. I can't believe it's so easy for me to forget how to breathe or
Ah.
remember to breathe. So I can start to see clearly and not be run by the unconscious habits and thought programs and that's running my life on autopilot, right? And I love how you said the other day of like when I'm on touch with my needs, I'm like I'm a zombie. Like this, you see
Yeah.
the movies out there about the zombie apocalypse. Like it's happening right now.
Yeah. Yep. It is.
The people on their phones, right? And I'm guilty of it too. Waiting in lines, my phone is it's a habit. Pulling it out, looking at it, not connecting to the people around me. So I'm saying this as a reminder to myself to connect, right? To those around me, in and out. So yeah, what does self connection mean to you?
Yeah. And self cleaning and self connection. If we're not connected, we can't keep up with how life is changing. It's like a pond or a river that stagnates. It's trying to move, but it gets all this algae and this backlog because we're too busy. And I'd like to relate because you're talking about livelihood. Like a livelihood is what makes us feel lively. It means we feel
Mm,
meaning, we feel contribution, and people feel that versus a busyness, a business. I don't want a business, which sole purpose is really for making money and doing those activities and being busy to get that. And for me, a livelihood is something so different. It's a way to contribute life force energy, alignment. And some people might think, oh, this is just so flaky and fluffy. Like, really? Can you really do that? You have to make money. Well, you know what? I think we're coming upon a spiritual
mm,
age of energetic mastery where people aren't interested in stuff anymore. People are recognizing how draining it is to have so much stuff to drag around with you, to move, and how much energy it is to have a huge, huge house or whatever. And people
mm,
experience, they want connection. They want to know how to relate, how to remember to connect to themselves, to others, and to source. Because I believe it's about, we can remember how to do that. We're innate. We are spiritual beings, have a human experience. not the other way around. Human beings trying to be spiritual. We're
Mm,
actually spiritual beings, and we've forgotten. And so part of cleaning for me is just making space enough to remember, which again, remember means to put back together again. I think we've been fractured, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, and so many of us are on these rat races, neglecting all those things for finance. And what is money really? Something that a centralized bank can create and devalue whenever they feel like it. And lasting value, which I think is really about the ultimate cleaning of us, is when we value life itself, the spring and the newness that comes from life. We're not full of fear or impatience. We can take a breath. And I think cleaning is cleaning out fear. And how do you show up? And
mm.
I think you mentioned one, breath, huge. And not specific breath practices, just staying in your body and going, oh, what am I feeling right now? What am I connected to? Because unless we're connected to that, it becomes very messy. We try to get what we need from other people. And we don't even know what we need. We become demanding. We become erratic. It's a mess.
Yeah. The busyness of life, the overwhelm. I have a habit of filling up my calendar with
Mm.
more meetings and things to do when I tell myself I gotta clean it. Right. And part of me cleaning is creating not just time blocks, but empty space.
Yeah.
I used to have anxiety of having empty space in my calendar, and I went the full throttle in the other way. I'm like, I, I don't want to be so on the hamster wheel here. Because then when I'm so busy, then I created this backlog, like you mentioned, this sewer backup, where that be my health. What am I eating? Am I going to the gym? How's my sleep? Right? My nutrition. How about mental? What stories are running in my head that am I just playing out and letting it spiral versus reflecting on it, being with someone that can hold it so I can see it for what it really is? Or my emotions, stuffing everything down, being disconnected, numb, using video games, porn, alcohol, drugs to just from that.
To keep going, right? So you
To
can
keep going, to keep
maintain that busy
producing.
schedule, that nervous system.
Yeah. A high achiever status. Yeah. I know a thing or two about high achiever. Being from Asian parents. Yeah. And so it's like moving away from that by self connecting with myself, which I hear is clearing out falsehoods of these
Mhm.
stories that I should be, what it means to be worthy, to be enough, to be a good boy. Where is this coming from?
Santa
Right?
Claus. It's coming from Santa Claus.
And can you share that song about Santa Claus? That one bit there?
He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been good or bad. So be good for goodness sake. It's programming, man. Yeah, clearing that shit out. I don't want to celebrate Christmas or Santa Claus anymore as a result. So
It's watching me while I'm sleeping. How creepy is that?
it's very
That's a
creepy.
judgment. I know, it's a judgment.
I imagine when you really think of it, and my daughter said that to me more. My mom, Santa's a stalker. I'm like, oh my God, you're right. He is. Like, ew.
What glitch, a little wake
Mhm.
up. Yeah.
And then what do we
So it's
have
like
kids?
this self-cleaning. Yeah. Coming to my truth. So the more I know my truth, the more I'm free. I'm
Yeah.
free to choose. And I can say no, not like no obnoxiously, not a weak no where it's like a half yes maybe, but a firm and respectful no because I know my truth.
Mhm.
That's a compassionate boundary, showing people where the door is rather than keeping people out.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I can put down that weapon, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, you're hyperachiever, saboteur, because you're anxious with space. And
Mm.
I'm like, when I see your calendar so filled up, I'm like, ah. And so this idea of time management, interesting, right? We have to manage our time. What if we just created space? There's these fears, I would never get anything done. I'm not self motivated. But like you said, kids are always learning, they're always motivated. And you do need structure. But cleaning out the rigidity of what we believe we
Mm,
need to be forced to do as a species. Do we need to go to work for 9 to 5? How many extracurricular activities do we need to drive our kids to? Do we not believe that people have the capacity to learn? Most creative insights come in times of space. Einstein used to stare out a window. Every person who's been truly creative and dynamic in the world creates space to daydream, to think, to connect. So when we think of houses, cleaning means space. Like, how do I clean my space and the dust and having too much in it?
mm,
How do we clean out our emotional and physical space, like your calendar? So there's, like you said, breathing room when we're literally back to back with so many appointments and business meetings and whatever. There's literally and metaphorically no space to breathe.
mm,
And shortness of breath creates so many physical symptoms. Oxygen deprivation actually creates pain in the body. And then we start then eating bad food and taking medications that build up in our body. And then the cleaning of that later is disastrous. So we can
mm,
start with our breath and the space in our calendars, ask for time off. And this is where I believe workplaces too need to be cleaned from, I guess, greed
mm,
more than anything else.
mm. Hello, Christine. Thanks for your comment. Yeah. I have the same questions. I feel the truth within myself. Yeah, practicing solitude, right? Yeah. It's a lot easier to imagine doing this than actually doing it. And I'll speak from my
Mhm.
own experience of this anxiety that I have with creating empty space in my calendar. When I'm so used to filling it up and feeling good about being busy because the story says I'm being productive, I am doing something, I'm being successful. This is what successful people do. Okay. Now, what happens, and this is my experience, is that I get lost in the doing. I start looking and get addicted to the hit of getting things done. And so there's no awareness of what a priority is.